Today is 7 July 2009. The next event you're going to see is a brief one-on-one meeting with the Prime Minister Putin and President Obama. It is open, main, Carmichael, theory, gear number 1. And we're at Putin's dacha.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Уважаемый господин президент,
Mr. President,
я очень рад видеть вас.
I'm very glad to meet you here,
И рад возможности познакомиться с вами.
and I'm glad to have this opportunity to get acquaintance of yours.
История российско-американских отношений очень давняя, имеет разную окраску.
The history of the relations between Russia and the United States has very many different occasions and events of different, shall we say, color.
Были годы безусловного процветания наших двухсторонних отношений в истории, были достаточно серые будни и даже противостояния.
There were periods when our relations flourished quite a bit, and there were also periods of, shall we say, grayish mood between our two countries and of stagnation.
С вашим именем мы связываем надежду на развитие российско-американских отношений.
With you, we link all our hopes for the furtherance of relations between our two countries.
Мы очень рады вас видеть и приветствовать в России. Добро пожаловать.
We are very glad to see you here and welcome you here in Russia.
Thank you. Well, I very much appreciate you taking time to meet with me.
Спасибо, я очень благодарю вас за то, что вы нашли время встретиться со мной.
We had excellent discussions with the President yesterday.
У нас вчера были замечательные обсуждения с президентом Медведевым.
And I'm aware of not only the extraordinary work that you've done on behalf of the Russian people in your previous role as as President, but in your current role as Prime Minister.
И я знаю о той замечательной работе, которую вы делали ради российского народа в своей прежней должности президента и теперь в нынешней должности премьер-министра.
We think there's an excellent opportunity to put U.S.-Russian relations on a much stronger footing.
Я думаю, сейчас у нас замечательная возможность поставить российско-американские отношения на прочную основу.
And we may not end up agreeing on everything, but I think that we can have a tone of mutual respect and consultation that will serve both the American people and the Russian people well.
Я думаю, что, может быть, мы договоримся не о всем, но мы будем обсуждать, исходя из соображений взаимного уважения и в интересах российского и американского народов.
So, thank you very much. I look forward to a very useful exchange of ideas.
Так что большое спасибо, и я предвкушаю очень интересную беседу.
Хороший завтрак. Мы вам приготовили завтрак в российском стиле.
Хороший завтрак.
We have prepared a Russian-style breakfast.
Oh, I also want to thank the Prime Minister for arranging very nice weather in Moscow.
Я также хочу благодарить премьер-министра за то, что он организовал такую хорошую погоду для нас в Москве.
Спасибо.
Thank you.
Спасибо.
Mr. Prime Minister, what do you think of the
Well, I think we'll have some time. Thank you.
Системное изложение и позиции по российско-американскому сотрудничеству, данные мировые процессы.
because this indeed was a systemic outline of the relations between the United States and Russia on a number of issues, both bilateral and international.
Ну и у нас еще сегодня будет возможность пообщаться с бизнесменами.
And also we'll have an opportunity today to talk to the business people.
Yes.
Это означает, что визит получился во всех отношениях насыщенным и включает в себя все элементы российско-американской кооперации по внешнеполитическому направлению. И наши двусторонние отношения, экономика и гуманитарная сфера. Это очень хорошо.
This only means that your visit turned out to be a very substantial, intensive and multifaceted, covering all matters of our cooperation, including foreign policy, bilateral relations, economic matters, humanitarian, which is very good.
Thanks for your help.
Готовимся ехать вместе в Италию, там продолжим.
So we are also getting prepared to go, the two of us, to Italy, and there we'll continue discussing of matters.
Absolutely. Well, and I've also enjoyed a lot of good food.
Thanks a lot.
So we had a very good day today, building off the very productive meetings yesterday.
У нас сегодня был очень хороший день, как бы добавляет тому замечательному дню вчера.
I had a good conversation with the Prime Minister,
Хорошая
and
была беседа с премьер-министром.
I think that his approach to these issues was very similar to yours, and I think that we have the potential of doing some very important business together.
Я думаю, его подход очень похож на ваш, схожий. Я думаю, что мы имеем потенциальную возможность многое сделать вместе.
And seeing the young people today receive their diplomas was very encouraging. I saw your young finance minister there and economic advisor there. And I think that you've got a lot of very talented young people who I think are going to be doing great things for Russia.
И вот сегодня присутствовать на дипломной церемонии было очень приятно. Там очень много талантливых молодых людей. Видел также вашего министра финансов, вашего советника. Я думаю, то, что вот есть у вас такие молодые люди, которые...
So I continue to thank you for your extraordinary hospitality. I'm looking forward to having a chance to meet some additional officials during lunch, and then I think the business meeting this afternoon will be very productive because I think both Russia and the United States has an interest in expanding our commercial relationship. So I thank you for the suggestion of bringing these business leaders together.
Спасибо за гостеприимство. У нас вот, я встречаюсь сейчас с другими государственными служащими во время обеда. Потом у нас будет возможность встретиться с деловой общественностью после обеда. Я думаю, что у России и Соединенных Штатов есть коммерческие интересы, и можно и это будет продвигаться.
All right. Thank you, guys.
Саммите, российско-американском бизнес-саммите. Хотя этот саммит потому и называется саммитом, что в нем принимаете участие вы, для нас, безусловно, это не первая встреча и уже стало доброй традицией в рамках Санкт-Петербургского экономического форума организовывать российско-американскую бизнес-панель. И сегодняшняя встреча, безусловно, превзошла все эти дискуссии в Санкт-Петербурге и по количеству участников, и по масштабу поднятых на нашей встрече проблем. Я хотел бы, прежде чем...
For both sides, we are ready to support it as much as we can. Thank you very much.
Уважаемый Дмитрий Анатольевич, уважаемый президент
Dmitry Anatolyevich, President Obama, allow me on behalf of the Russian-American Business Dialogue to inform you that within a number of hours. We had very fruitful discussion and the exchange of views on the will take
Во-вторых, мы считаем, что
in
пришло
this.
время
We also think that the time has
переподписать
come
в новой
to
редакции с учетом
re-sign a
новых
new
приоритетов соглашение о защите взаимных
draft of the
инвестиций в двух
agreement
странах,
on
которое
protection
бы
of
отражало
mutual
текущее
investment of both
состояние
countries that would
наших
reflect the current
взаимоотношений.
state of our relations.
И я хотел бы еще подчеркнуть
I
такую
would like
особенность,
also
что
to
мы
emphasize
обсудили не только
that we have discussed
взаимные
not
инвестиции как
only
в России,
mutual
так и
investment
в
both
Соединенных
in
Штатах,
Russia and the
но
United
считаем, что у нас
States.
и большие
We
перспективы
think
по
that there
сотрудничеству
are
в
big
третьих странах,
prospects for
в Азии
cooperation
и в
in
Африке.
third countries in
И
Asia and
разрешите еще
Africa.
раз
Allow
выразить
me once
уверенность в
again
том, что
to
мы
say that I am confident
твердо
that
надеемся,
we do
что
hope
у российско-американских
that
экономических отношений
Russian-American
хорошее
economic
будущее.
relations have. At
At
our summit, we have voiced, so to speak, a request addressed to you to make business dialogue not only a guest at the meetings of the Intergovernmental Commission and the working group that is headed by Ministers Nabiubil and Terikop, but that there should be a constant mechanism of involvement business in the discussion of economic problems that face our two countries. Of the world is still not part of the WTO. We have informed our colleagues that Russia is going to join that organization, that we haven't yet lost the opportunity of joining the customs union on the conditions that have been agreed throughout the 16 years of negotiations, and then all that has been agreed will not be lost, and the customs union will be joining WTO.
Is now encrypted, but they're held up at both borders because of obsolete rules and regulations. And I would simply like to close by thanking both presidents for creating this commission in which both governments and elements in each government will be on a regular basis meeting, and that you have included business within that framework. Thank you very much.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are approaching the key moment. Economy. A little bit less
по вопросам,
than
касающимся
on
глобального развития
questions of
и
global development
повестки дня, связанной с
and the agenda
разоружением.
related
Но, тем
to
не менее, у
disarmament.
нас была
But
продуктивная
nevertheless, we
дискуссия,
had a productive
и мы
discussion,
считаем, что
and
необходимо
we believe
поддержать
that
позитивный
it is
настрой деловых
we
кругов
need
наших
to
стран.
support
Мы
the
обсуждали,
positive
кстати сказать, вполне практические вопросы.
mood of
Президент
our
спросил
business
меня в отношении
communities.
того,
We discussed some
собирается ли
practical
Россия
questions. The
вступать в
President
Всемирную
asked me
торговую
whether
организацию.
Russia is
Мы
planning
уже
to
дали за
join
Россию ответ на этом
WTO.
форуме.
We
Я
already
хотел бы еще раз
answered
от
for
имени
Russia
нашей
in this
страны сказать,
forum,
что
and on
мы
behalf of our
собираемся
country, I can
вступать
say
в Всемирную
again that
торговую
we are planning
организацию.
to join
И будем это
WTO.
делать
And we will
с учетом тех
do it
достижений, которые были
taking into
достигнуты.
Traditional production for Russia, the high-tech sectors, including we have already spoken about green economy, clean projects. I think in this area we have very good opportunities for cooperation. And after this meeting, we will continue to discuss these questions with President Obama at the G8 meeting in Italy. I cannot help noting one more positive
самолета. Это лишь пример. Это не значит, что мы должны обязательно сконцентрироваться в этой сфере. Но такие примеры есть. И мы можем работать по этим направлениям. У американских компаний есть хорошие перспективы. Я знаю о планах компании John Deere начать производство сельхозтехники, уже строится завод в Калуге. Кстати, эта компания действительно была одна из первых, которая поставляла тракторы в нашу страну еще в царский период, затем в советское время. Есть другие примеры инвестиционного сотрудничества. Уже 50 лет, как Дон Кендалл угощал пепси-колой Никиту Хрущева.
Сложный вопрос
вопросов
including very
международной
difficult
повестки
question of
дня
international
и
agenda
наших
and our
двусторонних отношений.
bilateral relations.
Поэтому мы
So
искренне надеемся
we
на
sincerely
успех
hope
вашего диалога.
that
Спасибо,
your
что
dialogue
позвали.
will be a success. Thank you for inviting me.
Good afternoon. Добрый день. It is a great privilege to join all of you today with President Medvedev, including Russia's growing middle class. There's Russia's skilled workers, vast scientific establishment, and natural resources. On the other hand, there's American leadership in high-tech, manufacturing, agriculture, and capital. So we need to make it easier for American companies to invest in Russia and make it easier for Russian companies to invest in the United States. There's so many opportunities for cooperation, some of which have already been mentioned. But in order to achieve this better future, we're going to have to do some work. And some of the areas where our governments are going to have to do work have already been mentioned.
John, we're walking out. We're walking out. Two and two.
The Civil Society Summit now at the Metropole Hotel.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's before the Ritz.
Go.
Tail slate. Today is 7 July 2009. The event you just saw was the President and President Medvedev meet with Parallel Business Summit. It's open cuts, Carmichael theory, gear number 1.
That would be drive time 5 minutes.
Is this right at the top or right at the
Go.
Today is
Now it's 2 minutes, right?
7 July 2009. The next event you're going to see is the President's meet with the Parallel Civil Society Summit. It's open cuts, Carmichael theory, gear number 1.
Are we coming back to this van?
Позвольте мне предоставить слово Елене Панфиловой, Transparency International.
Добрый день, господин президент, уважаемые коллеги, дамы и господа. Для меня большая честь и большая ответственность выступать сегодня перед вами, поскольку я представляю здесь не только российско-американскую рабочую группу по институциональной прозрачности, не только Центр Transparency International Россия, но и все те организации гражданского общества в России, которые выступают за прозрачность.
But also all those organizations, and although I don't want to use the word corruption today, it's a horrible word, but I have to do it, because behind this word there are all those problems, the majority of which yesterday and today at our summit and at the meetings of US and American businessmen were discussed by our colleagues. Issues of health, education, media, state regulation of business, human rights, all those issues were discussed. Only recently we began to understand that the struggle against corruption and non-transparency is the struggle for human rights. Why? Because corruption does not allow other human rights to be respected. Countries become vulnerable to other challenges. Democracy is distorted. Other things are distorted as well. Unfortunately, in the last decades, we in the US and in other countries, we basically got used to double standards, and pragmatism and consumption became the most important things. We adopted resolutions, conventions, and laws. However, the financial and economic crisis happened anyway. Corruption has grown anyway in all walks of life. So when there are no values, non-traditional institutes and instruments cannot really fight lies, greed, and so we have to go back to simple values. We have to use truth to fight corruption and lies, not as an abstract value, but as an instrument for our bilateral relations, something that would help business and those who participate in it. We should really call a spade a spade. We shouldn't confuse pragmatism and efficiency. Sometimes we're told that it's impossible to change business, that profit will be the most important always, that it's impossible to fight bureaucrats, that it's impossible to fight corruption, that it's part of our culture and our mentality. I completely disagree. Everything is possible. I am completely certain that there are no peoples who are doomed to corruption. I am prepared to say that those who spread those myths about the invincibility of corruption don't want corruption to be defeated. In the world where everything is for sale, where everything can be resolved under closed doors, we should not forget that Muhammad Yunus once said that business may be used to improve the world. And this is true for business, for politics, and for government. We should really achieve a situation when corruption will become indecent. This is necessary. My grandmother used to say that the truth will always come out. So all those behind the doors transactions and deals basically undermine the trust and the trust of the society. Corruption should not only be indecent, it should be unacceptable. We should be totally intolerant toward corruption, and we should be faithful to our principles. And we should call on the countries of G8 to do the same at the summit. Russian and American presidents started their administration talking about transparency and making sure that transparency does exist. Both peoples want the same thing from their government: more accountability and transparency. Russian and American experts, businessmen, and human rights champions are prepared to do everything to promote that. We really have to do it, because without it we won't be able to change the life and to change the world for the better, so that our children and also our grandmothers will look at the same time. Center for Public Credit,
Great, thank you,
Chicago.
Let me just start with a quick personal note to President Obama. I just want him to know that my being in Moscow was made all the more special because it coincides with his visit. My colleagues and I are very honored to be working alongside the President in improving U.S.-Russian relations. I have a lot more to say, but I have to be brief. I'm reporting out on the Community Development and Youth Education Working Groups. Both working groups consist of leaders from different parts of each country, from organizations of different sizes and different specializations. However, a common theme was that of the need to get ordinary citizens in both countries to become more involved in working on the challenges confronting community development and youth education. More specifically, the Community Development Working Group identified 12 shared challenges, including energy efficiency and housing finance, dislocation caused by plant closings, and migration issues, and resolved that in the next 6 months, we hope to create an exchange of information via the internet with case studies and best practices regarding our multiple shared challenges, to also create an ongoing working subcommittee that we conduct through conference calls and webinars to dig deeper and problem solve about the more urgent shared challenges, such as the aforementioned housing finance, economic dislocation, migration issues, and number 3, to start planning for an annual in-person conference, as well as periodic tours of each other's projects and activities. The Youth and Education Group, which focus specifically on strategies to improve the education and services of youth and efforts that lead to the development of the next generation of informed, civic-minded, and ethical leaders, will also engage in some of the same activities as the Community Development and Working Group, such as in-person convenings, tours, and virtual exchanges. Both groups agree that the web and telephone-based exchanges especially are practical and can begin in short order. We'd like to do that. Further, over the next 1 to 2 years, the Youth and Education Group plans to devise a program that will improve cross-national partnerships among U.S. and Russian education and youth leaders, improve research and information dissemination at university and policy centers, and improve the teaching strategies used in secondary and post-secondary schools. In conclusion, we clearly have developed frameworks to improve cooperation between American and Russian civil societies, but we also hope that we can count on your leadership, Mr. President, to help expand the civil liberties of our Russian colleagues, to make it easier and safer for them to be effective, and we hope that both governments will provide resources to support our engagement. Thank you. Spasiba.
Юрий Дубладзе, Центр развития демократии и прав человека.
Уважаемые коллеги,
Center for Development of Democracy. Mr. President, dear colleagues, I will speak on behalf of 2 groups, one ecological group and human rights group. And I will talk as if I address 2 presidents. And we were supposed to give our recommendations to both leaders, US and American. It's too bad Mr. Medvedev is not here. However, we hope that our message will be heard first about ecological recommendations. The participants emphasize that Russia and the US have the greatest number of forests, and they are also at the top compared to other countries with respect to greenhouse gases emissions. And therefore, the representatives of various groups should really do everything to make sure that the Copenhagen Agreement would be carried out. We also should do everything to make sure that biodiversity is not lost, and we also should make sure that the anti-crisis financing should only go to green projects, for example, renewable energy. And as far as the World Bank and other financial institutes, they should really introduce a new system for greenhouse gases emissions. Unfortunately, I can't say everything I wanted to say, so I want to give you the full version. Also, a rule of law and human rights should be a priority in the relationship between the 2 countries. Without the respect for human rights, the partnership between the 2 countries that the President mentioned in talking with President Medvedev cannot happen. It really is necessary to respect human rights, and the media, when it's controlled by the state, will not be friendly. And one of the results of the first summit of the presidents of Obama and Medvedev should be the should be the stress on the legitimacy of various civil society groups. Without such priorities, we really wouldn't be able to respect human rights. We should not forget about such things as hate crimes, torture, the situation in jails, historical memory, and the responsibility for the crimes of the past. We realized that our countries are not in the same position. The problems with human rights are more serious in Russia, and it's more dangerous to work in that area. And such things as, for example, Khodorkovsky and Lebedev's cases, the killings and attacks against journalists and lawyers, various problems with the media, with NGOs, and impunity after crimes, especially in the North Caucasus. These are all difficult problems. And very often Russian politicians don't like being reminded about human rights. And eventually, if the dialogue is based on mutual respect, things will change. And we must admit that no democracy is perfect, and even the United States has some difficulties regarding human rights. And then, if we recognize that, then our relationship will not be lecturing, it will be a dialogue. And, Mr. President, I want to tell you that U.S. conduct with respect to human rights is very important for us, because when in the past the U.S. administration violated human rights and yet said that they are for democracy, this allowed many other countries to violate human rights. When you decided to ban torture and decided to shut down Guantanamo, this definitely helped. And when you make various decisions with respect to terrorism, to other human rights related cases, please don't forget that what you do affects others in Russia and many other countries. We believe that the situation with U.S. democracy is important for Russia and vice versa. We also will take upon ourselves the responsibility of the work. Dear colleagues, we all know that President Obama is not only the President of the U.S., but he also has a track record as one of the leaders of the civil society. So he is one of us. So I would like to give the floor to the President of the U.S., who is at the same time is one of the leaders of the civil society.
I apologize that I think I'm running late and I'm leaving early. This is a good reason why civil society is so important, because you can't always count on politicians. It is a great pleasure to be with all of you. Through the work that you do, you underscore what I believe is a fundamental truth in the 21st century, that strong, vibrant nations include strong, vibrant civil societies. This was also a key message of the speech that I gave this morning at the new economic school. We not only need a reset button between the American and Russian government, but we need a fresh start between our societies. More dialogue, more listening, more cooperation in confronting common challenges. For history teaches us that real progress, whether it's economic or social or political, doesn't come from the top down. It typically comes from the bottom up. It comes from people. It comes from the grassroots. It comes from you. The best ideas and solutions come from ordinary citizens who become involved in their communities and in their countries, and by mobilizing and organizing and changing people's hearts and minds, you then change the political landscape. And oftentimes politicians get the credit for changing laws, but in fact you've created the environment in which those new laws can occur. I learned this myself when I worked as a community organizer in Chicago. I'm glad to see my friend here from Chicago, Calvin Holmes, who we used to work together on a range of civic issues. I was working in communities that were devastated by steel plant closings, and so I went door to door. I worked with churches, trying to learn what people needed. And we had a lot of setbacks. In fact, we had more failures than successes, but we kept on listening to the people. We learned from them. We got them involved. And over time, they chose projects to work on, whether it was building a new play lot or improving a neighborhood park or improving the local school or improving housing in the community. And slowly, block by block, neighborhood by neighborhood, you started to see change happen. More jobs, better housing, more opportunities for young people. And I learned a lesson, that if you want to bring about change, it's not enough just to be an advocate. It's not enough to just wait for the government to act. You have to step up and deliver results, real impact on people's lives. And that is something that I think is lost sometimes when we discuss civil society. There's a tendency sometimes for this to be a very abstract conversation with very lofty goals. And since I am a former law professor, I love abstractions and lofty goals. But your neighbor, your friend, your coworker, they're struggling with very immediate things right now. Can they pay the rent? Can their child go to a school that is going to teach them so that they can succeed in the future? Those are the day-to-day struggles that they're wrestling with. And if they can't see a connection between what you are doing and their lives getting better in the short term as well as the long term, then it's very hard to get any traction over time. Now, no community is the same, and every country will follow its own path. So let me be very clear. Russia's future is up to the Russian people. Not every choice that's good for the United States is going to be good for Russia. Not every model of organization or development or democracy may be easily transplantable from one country to the next. But let me also say that we can learn from each other. And I do think there's some universal principles. So I commend you for this summit, designed not to lecture, but to listen, as was already pointed out, not to teach or impose solutions, but to learn from each other, from the bottom up. As today's speakers explained, there are so many opportunities for new partnerships, developing strong, prosperous communities, expanding education and exchanges that open young minds to each other's countries, promoting healthy lifestyles that help people live longer, more productive lives, discovering the clean energy technologies we need to protect our environment and confront climate change. These are the challenges that we can meet together. And meeting these challenges in turn requires what many of you have dedicated your lives to sustaining: a vibrant civil society, the freedom of people to live as they choose, to speak their minds, to organize peacefully, and to have a say in how they're governed, a free press to report the truth, confidence in the rule of law and the equal administration of justice, a government that's accountable and transparent. We honor all of you for the passion and perseverance that you bring to these causes. As I've said elsewhere, I don't think these are American ideals, and I don't think they are the monopoly of one country. They're universal values. They're human rights. And that's why the United States of America will support them everywhere. That is our commitment, and that is our promise. And in supporting these ideals, it's also important that we uphold them ourselves. And that's why I take the last speaker's admonition as a useful reminder that what we do matters in part because although we know that sometimes we'll fall short of our ideals when we do, they can be an excuse for others. Our journey to perfect our union goes on to this day, and that's why I did order the closing of the Guantanamo Bay prison, and I did ban torture without equivocation and without exception. Here in Russia, I welcome the steps that President Medvedev has taken so that civil society groups can play a more active role on behalf of the Russian people. And I want to acknowledge that we are joined today by representatives of two important organizations, the Office of the Human Rights Ombudsman and the Presidential Commission on Human Rights and Civil Society. Make no mistake, civil society, civil groups hold their governments to high standards. And I know, because this audience includes Americans who've been critical of me for not moving fast enough on issues that are of great importance. They've said it to my face in the Oval Office while I was president. They told me I was wrong. And in some cases, they changed my mind. In some cases, they didn't. And that's okay, because we're not going to agree on everything. But I know this, their voices and their views and their criticism ultimately will make my decisions better. They will make me ask tougher questions and ask my staffs tougher questions. And we'll find out, are there ways of doing what we need to do that conform to our deepest held values and our ideals and that are sustainable over the long term. That makes our country stronger in the long term. And I wouldn't want it any other way. So this summit reminds us the fresh starts have to be between more than just two presidents. They have to be between our two peoples, our two societies. They have to be more than just common security, the Cold War weapons we dismantle. It must be about our common opportunity, the future of progress and prosperity that we build together. And I think that the leadership here in Russia, both civil and governmental, understand this. I had lunch with President Medvedev this afternoon, and we started talking about health issues and the continuing high mortality rate among Russian men in particular. And we talked about alcoholism, and we talked about smoking, and we talked about the fact that government programs can be initiated, but to the extent that there's been success in the United States around reducing smoking levels, it's not only a matter of changing laws, it's also been changing attitudes so that people feel that they need to change, and they internalize these different attitudes. That's something that civic society can do in a way that government never can. I then met the leader of the Russian Orthodox Church, and he talked about how, you know, government exchanges are useful, but religious organizations, they can help melt away the suspicions and mistrust that have built between people over time. So just in those two conversations in the span of 15 minutes, essentially what I heard was a call for action from you. Confidence that what you are doing matters, even when sometimes it seems hard and it seems as if nobody's listening. That's what our work here on earth must be about, what Tolstoy called the sole meaning of life, to serve humanity.